Hello and thanks for joining us on this, the Sportsman Untitled podcast live stream in association with Betfred here on YouTube. We'll be going live very shortly, so get your popcorn, get your headphones on and tune in for one of the best live episodes of talking about sport you will have ever heard. And if you're lucky, we might do this again sometime. So as I said, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn and we'll be with you in about 30 seconds. Now, before we begin, it would be remiss of me not to ask you to like, subscribe, share with your friends, family, the dog, the cat, whoever. And also, if you fancy, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Sportsman Untitled. We are live on YouTube reacting to playoff semi-final first leg. It's the fourth versus fifth playoff between Coventry and Sunderland. Dramatically ending Coventry 1, Sunderland 2. A calamitous late goal win in this for Sunderland. We are going to be across this with the great Gab Sutton, EFL expert, here with me tonight. We're going to hear from our normal host, Simon Lillibury, later on. He has been at the game tonight, although I'm not entirely sure how happy he's going to be with whatever he's going to send through to us tonight. Please, guys, get the chat going, fill the comments up, get your questions and your thoughts in on tonight's first leg and how things are shaping up for the return at the Stadium of Light. We're going to go to Gab in just a minute, but first, Seb, if you've got it queued up, let's see what the Sportsman Untitled panel said prior to this semi-final first leg.
We'll win the first leg 2-0 and lose the second leg 2-1.
Just trying to do the maths on it.
So we'll win the home leg and edge through after a defeat in the second leg.
Johnny?
I'm going to say 1-1 in the first leg and 1-0 to us in the second leg. But that's way more with that than it is with that, I'll be honest.
And lads, just for a bit of fun as well, what do you think will happen?
I think Coventry win. I think Coventry are going through. I think Coventry win. I don't mind Simon's shout, to be honest, 2-0 at home, then defeat at Stadium of Light. I think Sunderland will give it a really good go.
So both me and you are back in a Sheffield United Coventry final. Who wins the final? Who wins the final?
Never mind.
I'll go 2-0 Cov win in the first leg. 1-0 Sunderland win in the second leg. So Cov through.
You can all come back. Well done.
I don't know what it is. Something about just the Frank Lampard factor, your squad, the momentum. There's just something about the hype around Coventry the last few months.
Wow. Coventry's first defeat to Sunderland since 2007 tonight. We knew it was 5 wins and 5 draws for into this one. Gab, this was far more like tournament football than it was last night. What are your immediate feelings on a peak playoff semi-final first leg?
Well, what a huge result for Sunderland. I think this was probably a reward for a pretty solid, maybe conservative game plan. It looked like in the first half, didn't it, that Sunderland were willing to let Coventry sort of in possession back three, if you like, with Matt Grimes dropping in between the centre-backs. They let them have all the ball and then they engaged whenever the more advanced players came in. And I think on the whole, they kept Coventry at arm's length, but also it relied on some really brave defending. I thought Dan Neil put in a coming-of-age performance for Sunderland tonight. He'd probably get my man of the match. A real battling display and from the captain. So that was the key for me. Sunderland's organisation, but also courage in their defensive third.
Over at Betfred, the promotion odds are being updated as we speak. In fact, they've just disappeared. Oh no, they are back. Sheffield United are 4-6 with Bristol City 66-1. That hasn't moved since last night. Sunderland, as you can imagine, Gab, 13-8. Coventry out to 8-1. Absolutely fascinating setup from these first two legs. If anyone could tell me in the chat the last time the Championship playoff semi-final first legs were both won by the away team, It's very rare, it feels like. I was sat there the whole match, Gab, thinking if Sunderland could have taken a draw back to the Stadium of Light, they'd have been cock a hoop. This is beyond their expectations, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But it shows how that resilience and okay, there was that moment where Patrick Roberts could have been sharper on the left-hand side to that cross for the equaliser straight after they scored. But it also showed they had, I think, three big counter-attacking moments, Sunderland, and they scored from two of them. So it was a real reward for clinical finishing, really, wasn't it? And yeah, great individual performance from Elisa Mayenda to deliver in those big moments.
Tactically, a bit different last night, wasn't it? Last night, I mean, it's easy to throw the word naive around after the fact, but Bristol City pressing a bit higher. Sheffield United prepped for it with the two strikers counter-attacking quickly. As you've already mentioned, we were 75% possession for Coventry and Sunderland, sitting in that kind of tight 4-4-2 shape. But as you've mentioned, Gab, you get the chances, you've got to take them. I'm looking at Kevin Phillips on the screen now. There wasn't many better finishers than him, but Isidore, get your knee over it, hit it as hard as you can towards the far corner. Great finish. And Mayenda was very cool. We talked about kind of high stress, high pressure moment for Harrison Burrows. That could have been as well at the end there, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think really it's going to be interesting looking at I think both what Sheffield United and Sunderland are probably going to have to their advantage is how they've both already demonstrated in their first legs the ability to hit their opponents on the counter-attack, and I'm sure that's something they'll be looking to put to good use in the second legs as they return home. So yeah, I think with Sunderland, you've got to give some credit to Regis Lebris as well, finishing the league season with 5 straight defeats, but he kept the players fresh, and it's actually possibly paid off because they had the work ethic to keep Coventry at bay and put in that. There were some really brave blocks, weren't there? I think Dan Ballard put in one of them, throwing himself on the line. So I think that made a real difference. But yeah, good sign that Regis Lebris knows how to sort of embrace these key games, and I thought he got it spot on tonight.
Let's take a look at what some of you guys are saying in the chat here, if we can. Seb, Reese the Blade up there. Can Coventry be thankful it's only a 1-goal deficit? Oliver, Sunderland come to Stadium of Light with the advantage. However, the lads, what a result. Tom, great second half. Two sides who will be eaten alive. Well, let's be positive tonight about what is going on in the playoffs. Stephen, it's on a knife edge. Shame a mistake gave Sunderland a golden advantage, but as we keep saying, no margin for error in the playoffs. And my name is Teo at the bottom there. From a neutral perspective, Sunderland versus Sheffield United is a better playoff final. And hi, Ben. Yeah. We thought that Regis Lebris would take this approach, didn't we? We mentioned last night about in league games how they've managed to kind of keep it tight and defend well. I was sat having a conversation with subscribers at half-time, Gab, of how does Frank Lampard play this in the second half? Because you're on top. Really, the pattern of the game is Coventry going on and winning it 1-0 if they can just push a bit further and make chances with all their crosses and corners and possession and territory that they had. And then you just have that knife edge, don't you, of do you push too far and get caught out? And, I mean, what was your take on the way Coventry approached the second half? I'm kind of sat here. I know Frank Lampard deranges football fans and it's hard to have a sensible conversation about his work, but he's a little hard done to, I think, there, the way the goals were scored and the counter-attacks. What's your thoughts on the way Coventry played the second half?
It felt a little bit like it was those sucker punches, didn't it, Ben, in terms of Coventry were possibly the team on the front foot for much of the second half, and Sunderland were the ones that just managed to to get the breaks. I think what I'd be really curious about in terms of the second leg is whether they can maybe get a bit more out of Matt Grimes, whether that's using his creative side higher up the pitch in terms of his ability to unlock defences, because he does have a great vision as much as he can play that more metronomic role as well. But I also feel like, you want somebody like him really sort of moving the needle in terms of the build-up play. And I just felt a lot of it was a bit side to side, giving it to Thomas, giving it to Kitchen, but maybe not quite maybe picking out a diagonal. And I think that's where... I think the one thing that Coventry will probably need, Ben, I don't know whether you agree with this, is they're probably going to need a bit more from Hadji Wright in the second leg. I think they, certainly in the first half, they tried to get those rotations between Milan Van Ewijk and Jack Rodoni and Sakamoto, and couldn't really find that breakthrough in the first half. But then, you give it to Hadji Wright, who they try and use a bit more for his 1v1 game, and he wasn't quite able to deliver, and I think that's going to be really important at the Stadium of Light for Coventry to have any chance.
It's easy to sit here after the fact and say it played into the hands, the defensive setup, but I feel the Sunderland fullbacks, they're amongst the best pair we've had in the division, aren't they? And they're very good 1v1, and I don't think Sakamoto probably had, a more lively game than Hadji Wright did. But that feels like a good matchup if Sunderland are well set and concentrated. And, Ballard head it, kick it, and O'Neill is not the largest, but he's a fighter and a scrapper, and he's a clever, wily old player as well. And it felt like with that kind of low block, compact defensive setup, it did play into their favour. And lo and behold, where does the goal actually come from? It comes from a lapse in concentration immediately after you've scored up the other end. And it's Rudoni arriving to supplement those guys. So I totally agree with you. Can you imagine, I'll play my hand, I can,
go for it.
Sunderland that will play a similarly kind of pragmatic style in the home game? I think we'll see the same type of thing, don't you?
Possibly, but I don't know whether Romain Mundle's going to be fit to come in for the second leg, because I think that could make a big difference. Because one thing I would like to see, Ben, is Enzo Lefebvre, who I think we've seen in moments this season. I know it's been...
He played fullback tonight, mate.
You what, sorry?
He played fullback tonight. I mean, I was saying Isidore as well, Gab. All he did before his goal was cover the fullback. But sorry, mate, continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I felt like a little bit like you actually want Enzo Lefebvre to be making more of a difference further forward. So I'm wondering whether Sunderland will bring in Romain Mundle on the left and actually go for just the one up top against in the second leg, but actually move Enzo Lefebvre into the 10 role, where I think with his ability to unlock opponents and his just incredible quality, whether that can make a difference. So that's an aspect that I'm curious about, depending on Romain Mundle's fitness. So I don't know whether it's going to be quite as conservative. I actually think Sunderland are going to try and start on the front foot, even if it probably, they are going to get forced back maybe in the second half, in the second leg, depending on what the slate of play is.
And they're in that position, Gab, where if they score the first goal, it's an absolute killer at the Stadium of Light, isn't it? And takes it to 3-1. I think somebody said in the chat, 2008, the last time we had the away sides win the first two legs. And I think you brought it up from last season, Gab. Last night, I think we had 2 0-0s, didn't we, in the first leg? Seb, let's have a look at some of these down here from Bridget. Can't see past the Sheffield United win at Wembley, but I'd like to see Sunderland in the Premier League. Long time since we've seen a Newcastle-Sunderland League game.
Just on a trivia note, I'm wondering if it was in that 2008 playoff semi-final. I've got a feeling it was Lewis Carey who scored for Bristol City. And I think Ben Watson scored a penalty for Palace, but I'm not sure. So just...
Scored the winner in an FA Cup final for your trivia. There you go.
I know, yeah.
Stephen, all the Coventry lovers saying Cov were going to win. Well, spool back to last night, because Gab Sutton said that Sunderland were favourites to win this last night. So Yeah, fair play, Gab. Although I think your entire predictions modus operandi is now just predict Sunderland. It's double down on Sunderland.
I've already nailed my colours to the mast, Ben, so I've got to double down on it.
Oh, fair play to you, matey. Shap Neil, Sheffield United will not be happy playing Sunderland in the final if they play like that. They have struggled all year against teams with a low block. If Sunderland are as clinical as they were tonight, is it as simple in terms of the dugouts as that this is a big W for Regis Lebris and a big L for Frank Lampard, or is it a bit more complicated than that, Gab?
I think retrieving a deficit in an away second leg is always a bit more difficult, Ben,
Which
isn't
Frank
it?
Lampard has done before.
Oh, very good trivia there. So we'll see. I think with the Roker Raw behind Sunderland, I think that's going to make a difference. I think with Mundell back, I think that's going to help them, whether that's from the start or from the bench. So I think Sunderland have put themselves in a good position to go on and win the tie. But as much as we're saying this, if Coventry score an early goal at a Stadium of Light, then the dynamic completely changes, doesn't it? And they've got players like Jack Rodoni who can come up with important goals. But according to our producer, Simon Lillibury has contributed a video. So let's hear what he has to say on this evening's defeat for the Sky Blues. Or it might be that he sent the video, but it's not only there. So anyway, carry on, Ben.
Where were you sitting then with your man of the match tonight? I think I enjoyed Dan Ballard head it, kick it, and one beautiful Titus Bramble-esque sprint up the pitch to draw a foul as well. It doesn't feel like a man of the match type display, does it? It was the sum of the parts and the circumstances playing nicely for Sunderland. But I'd have Ballard. Were you going with O'Neill, did you say?
I would. Luke O'Neill put in a really brave display as well, but for me it would be Dan Neil, because I think that I've just been so impressed generally this season, Ben, with how he's adapted to both being Sunderland captain. I think he's only 23, to be that kind of figure at that age, I think, and especially a club like Sunderland with a really passionate fan base, I think takes a lot of character. So I really like how he stepped up in that regard. I like how he's embraced a deeper role, because when you've got players like Bellingham and Rigg and Lefay and the quality out wide, you've got to take a rain check. And there's been moments this season where he has been able to drive forward and contribute, like the 3-2 win at Swansea around February time. But also he has had to show that defensive aspect to his game and maybe refine it a little bit. And I really like how he's kind of embraced that challenge. And it's something that excites me about the future of Dan Neil. And just again tonight, the way that he ran the sort of patrolled the midfield, if you like, and snuffed out danger and was really sort of alert to the dangers for the rest of his team, and was very brave as well. I just think that he really stepped up. Well, the campaign, I suppose, for the EFL players is step up. I think Dan Neil did that tonight.
We've got to talk about this calamity, this final goal at the end, and this just shows the sheer brutality of the playoffs, doesn't it? Because even though it's a lot of people will say, "Oh, you've played 46 games to get here," and it's an underhit back pass with the right back. Playing it with his left foot. Obviously, it's not quite like that. It's a 3-game tournament, but this is the breaks, isn't it, Gab? In the league, you do that, you lose the game, and you're back next week, and you can win another 3 points. But this is the switch that when that switch turns to tournament football. And I've been a big champion of Van Evik. I think people will be bidding for him in summer, particularly if Coventry aren't promoted. He's a good age. I think he's over or close to 100 championship appearances. I feel terrible for him because he looked really upset at the end there. But this is playoff football, isn't it? And we saw Rob Dickie, 1 second bad decision yesterday, and same thing today. Your thoughts on the winning goal?
Yeah, absolutely. It was one mistake, but he's been fantastic for Coventry City over the last couple of seasons and such a brilliant signing. And I expect him to be playing Premier League football next season, one way or another, if it's not somewhere else in Europe. Because I struggle to see him staying in the Championship because of the quality of he's quick, isn't he? He's strong. That link up play, he's so incisive, and I really. Yeah, I love the way that he's combined with Sakamoto and Rodoni this season. So, I think, it's a cruel moment for him, but I think that just shows the stark contrast of highs and lows in player football, and it's part of the appeal. But Simon Lillibury, hopefully, I think we do have the video now. So here's what he had to say reacting to Coventry City's 2-1 defeat.
Hello guys, Simon here. Just got back to my car after watching Coventry 1, Sunderland 2. Disappointing, pretty gutted to be honest with that last mistake from Milan Van Avermaet costing us the game. The one thing I kind of said we couldn't do was afford to lose this game. Yeah, it feels like it was a very even game, I thought. I think both teams put in their best effort really. I think the way we went behind and then responded to the goal so quickly was really important. Jack Rodoni, amazing header. The crowd were really up, and then to kind of lose the game like that with that Milan error kind of sucked the life out of the crowd. Sunderland fans celebrated very loud tonight. I think they put in a good performance. I think you have to say they didn't take that kind of losing form into the playoffs. And that winning run we kind of had, or unbeaten run we had against them, is now over. It feels like a very, very long way back. It feels like it might be, once again, third versus fourth in the playoff final. Yeah, difficult. We might be able to do something special, but difficult to see after losing this home leg. It was the one thing we couldn't really afford to do. So, yeah, there we go. I think mistake cost us, and unfortunately you can't afford to make mistakes at this level. So I think that might be it for our promotion chances.
Your reaction to that, Gab?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because he says that might be it. There is part of me that thinks, they could have an unbelievable start at the Stadium of Light. And I think in football, because it's so unpredictable, because you always have to be aware of what's coming, I'm very reluctant to make sort of sweeping statements after the first leg, other than maybe, the kind of the 3 or 4 goal margin kind of outcomes that like we saw last night at Ashton Gate. But I think that defeat is a hammer blow for Coventry City. I think they would have been at a disadvantage if they'd drawn tonight, but losing it it makes it very difficult as they head to the northeast.
And those outcomes become less and less likely the more the context gets clearer, unless you do get absolute chaos and carnage, which we used to get in the 90s a lot in the playoffs, and everyone reminds me of the Leeds Derby game. But, if it's just a matter of control, these things can be avoided. Let's look ahead just to round this out, Gab, at Monday and Tuesday night. Again, these odds with Betfred are essentially to be promoted. I don't know why you would just go on the individual second game, given, what's happened in the first games. But Sheffield United, as you can imagine, 4-6. Bristol City 66-1. I said yesterday, I'll eat my hat. I'll be astonished. You're dressing me in a Norwich shirt if Bristol City get back from that. Surely, Gab, it's a case of Chris Wilder just getting his team through the first 30 minutes with nothing terribly going wrong, and they're in the final, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a really professional performance from Sheffield United. I think that organisation, the base of Peck and Sousa has been so strong for them in the second half of the season since Arblaster's injury to keep Bristol City at bay. I think that's going to be really important. But yes, as long as they manage the game professionally, I expect it to be a formality for Sheffield United to reach Wembley.
And I know we're only just processing what's happened in the first leg. We haven't heard from Frank Lampard or Regis Lebris yet. Coventry 15-2. They've actually come in since we've been doing the show, so I think people are still seeing value in backing Coventry at probably the height they're going to be. They're 8-1 if that's going to be backed in by the market. Sunderland 13-8. I don't know, Gab. I thought if Coventry were getting through, I had them winning this leg 2-1, and I thought that would be where the damage is done, and then maybe you can draw the away game, and you might not need extra time or penalties. How are you seeing that second leg? And are you surprised that Coventry have been backed in the 30 minutes we've been sat here?
Yeah, I think I'm just wondering whether Frank Lampard can try and change things around, just whether it's a tactical tweak or something to try and... I mean, I'm going to come back to it. I think it's about just adding to the influence that Matt Grimes has, because I do see... I mean, let's say Sunderland play with those kind of two banks of four and they kind of try and counter through Mayenda and Isidore. And let's suppose that they're going to employ that approach.
Surely they're going to at least start the game like that, Gab, aren't they?
Yeah, I would imagine they might. I think that at that point, you've got to try and throw caution to the wind and say, you know what, okay, we might start Matt Grimes as part of that in-possession back three, but as play progresses, we're going to try and get him moving into midfield and beyond to really try and create with Sheaf and Rodoni, of course.
Ellis Sims, would that shake things?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Brandon. It was a tough night, wasn't it, for Brandon Thomas Asante tonight? I think Ellis Sims. I know Simon isn't necessarily the biggest admirer of him, so I do think that it's an area that Coventry might need to recruit in the summer. It's an area that they've possibly struggled in this season, and maybe one of the reasons why I was quite apprehensive about Coventry going into their playoff campaign, because they've got, half their 11 is like incredibly strong and up there with, almost the top two. But half their 11 is kind of mid-table standard. And I think Sunderland have got pretty much a top six best 11 all round. And I think it's that consistency that's seen them, that may see them over the line. But I think, it's Grimes. Can they get the best out of him? And obviously Rodoni, we know that he can produce some big moments. They're certainly going to need him to be at his absolute best in the North East.
So looking ahead to Monday and Tuesday, Gab, I'm going to frame this as, for it not to be a Sunderland-Sheffield United final now, we need a shock. I'm not asking where or how, but any chance we get a shock, and it's not a Sunderland-Sheffield United final.
I think there's it'll either be a Sheffield United Sunderland or Sheffield United Coventry, won't it?
Right.
I think... I think really, obviously the only chance is at the Stadium of Light. Again, it's just going to be fascinating to see whether Coventry City can basically turn the screw and change the game around. I mean, is there anything that you think Coventry can do from your point of view to change their luck? Because they did get into some good areas, even in the first half, they got into some good crossing positions, and there are a couple of slightly ropey moments for Sunderland where they needed to really put their bodies on the line.
If I'm not misremembering it, we did see Frank Lampard play a kind of 4-4-2 diamond and change tactics in that semi-final second leg. But I just don't think they won against Leeds for Derby.
Leeds, yeah.
It's just not a good game to judge, because if you remember, the grenade that went into that game was Jack Marriott coming in, I think, for... I can't remember who the lad went on to play for Millwall. Mason Bennett?
Mason
right?
Bennett.
Yeah, I think he went out and Marriott then obviously came in, and it was more like happenstance that, all of a sudden things started running for Derby, and it was an incredible win. But to that point, I don't know. I mean, he's got form for going in and making a big change. I mean, for goodness sake, he changed his keeper in round 46, didn't he? So... I'm not sure he does it from kickoff, Gab. Listen, we are tight on time here. Gab, have you got the results of the WhatsApp poll that producer Seb should have sent you? Well, Gab is finding those, guys. Please come and join us on Monday and Tuesday night. Simon Lillibury should be back on Monday, and potentially we should have some contact from Ollie from the Sheffield United way, and myself and Gab will be here all the way through. So be really grateful if you can come and join us. What's the poll say, Gab?
81% say Sunderland are going to Wembley, and That's weird. 81% say Sunderland are going to Wembley and 18% say Coventry. So I don't know what the other 1% think.
It's a rounding. We'll call it a rounding error. There you go. And I don't want a rounding error on this because we are out of time here. Gab, thanks so much for joining us. Brilliant support in the comments. Make sure you hit the subscribe button here on the Sportsman channel before you go, and set yourself a reminder, ring that bell, and we will see you at 10 p.m, myself and Gab, on Monday night and Tuesday night, where the odds are we will be confirming a Sunderland versus Sheffield United final. Or will we? It's the playoffs, guys. Anything can happen. We'll see you on Monday night.
Whoa.